All right, Bulls and Bears, BX4 News back in the building. Ride the bull, prepare for the bear, bold to the bust. Let's go ahead and get into it. We've got looming government shutdowns. We have threats of the debt ceiling having a non-agreement that could bring things to a screeching halt. We got a lot of news to get into today. Major closures from Dollar General, hundreds of stores closing. We've got a famous retail or popular retail store that's actually going bankrupt, cutting off gift cards. So people that bought these gift cards last Christmas and even before that try to use their gift cards before the store goes out of business, and they're being denied, right? Controversy and anger from the customer base from that retailer. We're going to talk about that and a lot more. First of all, let's get started right here, folks. Gold, $3,000. Now, it's been bouncing up and down over the past couple days, above 3,000, below 3,000. As I'm recording this, it's $29.96. When I publish the video, it could be above 3,000 again. But pretty interesting when you look at the run that gold has had. And you look back here, long time chart here. Let's go back to 2010. It was around $1,000. So took it a while. I wouldn't be buying gold at these prices, I'll be honest. I wouldn't be selling. I'm not going to sell. I have some gold. I'm not going to sell, but I'm certainly not going to be buying anymore at these prices. Doesn't mean that I don't think it's going to go higher. It just means that, you look at the path of gold and we see, peaks and then drops, bumps up, drops. Now, this is a real big run up here. It almost looks like something has changed, right? Because you see these previous run ups and they're not that steep. This is a very steep run up. In fact, we were just at 1,700 back in September 2022. So another $400 and gold's going to be doubling since September 2022. That's massive, folks. And that should just be a sign that there's a lot of people out there jumping to what they call safety because of all this money printing madness, what we're seeing here, folks. All right. Well, let's get into the news here. A lot of crazy stuff. Some of the news I can't even believe I have to report here, but this is what's happening, folks, economically and financially. And let's talk about housing to start with here. Evictions are really, really ramping up. Very bad in some areas. We've got an eviction court that had 361 cases in one day. This is one county, Knox County. So they're looking for ways to reduce these evictions, and we no longer have these eviction protections like we had over the past 4 years in many areas. Advocates are pushing to change something after 361 court cases were on the docket for Knox County Eviction Court on Tuesday. John Fletcher was evicted last month after he withheld his rent due to what he called insect infestation in his apartment. In some states, tenants can have the right. They have the right to withhold rent if landlords fail to repair major problems, but Tennessee is not one of those states that has that protection. He said, quote, "I've been couch surfing. I've had a couple of friends help me out. I bought a storage unit. But right now, the priority is just graduating." Wow, graduating? He continues, quote, "I've been trying to keep my head down, and I don't have a permanent place right now," unquote. Wow, that's sad, folks. It sounds like a student who's trying to focus on school, but he needs to, looks like, go to work right now or maybe work more jobs. Maybe he's working a job and going to school. He just says he's trying to graduate. Maybe he's just going to school. But it seems like he would have to have some job if he was paying rent at all, right? So pretty crazy that people are trying to graduate, and I hope he gets a job that's going to pay for whatever his student loan debt's going to be. So now he's probably going to have student loan debt on top of whatever bills, rent, car payment, everything else, insurance, cost of life. Will his degree meet these demands, right? We see tens of millions of other people, their degree didn't meet these demands. Now, there's many people where their degree meets the demand. It actually pays for itself, sometimes in a few years, sometimes it takes 10, 20, 30 years to pay for itself. But it seems like more and more of these degrees, people are not able to pay their payments. Again, look at all the tens of millions of people that couldn't make their minimum student loan payments. They had to put a whole freeze on the student loan thing. And some of these people were still in school. But some of these were graduated in their 40s, 50s. We even put stories on this channel out about people in their 60s and 70s still with student loan debt. It's crazy, folks. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if we'll be able to follow up on this particular individual. He just happens to be the one of the case studies out of this report here. that shows about 361 cases in one day. So evictions ramping up, folks, and things are just getting heated up as far as the cost of living. We've got the tariff effect now, likely going to make things worse. And that brings me to the next topic. The current administration, remember, for months, we heard, what do we hear? Inflation's coming down on day one. On day one, the economy is going to drastically improve. On day one, people are going to be happy, celebrating. Right? Those are some of the thoughts that were put out there, some of the, I think, promises that were put out there. Now they've kind of changed their tune a little bit. They're saying, well, there's going to be a transition period. Americans are going to be okay with it, is what he said. They're going to be okay with higher prices and tougher times right now because there's going to be more jobs coming in on the other side. And the other side, is that next month? Is that next year? Is that in 4 years when things could completely change back the other direction? Nobody knows, but we do know it's getting crazier every day. Out of the Sun, U.S. Story here. Devastated woman, 64, faces eviction despite claims Social Security owes her hundreds, and she's getting nowhere. She doesn't look 64. That's got to be a stock photo. Anyway, the story out of here, 60-year-old woman from Florida facing eviction following a lengthy battle with Social Security. Now, the big story out of this isn't why she missed the payments or why she hasn't been getting her checks. The big story to me is, why do we have so many people in this position where if they miss a couple checks, they're on the street, right? It seems like you're never done paying for stuff. You could have your home paid off. You're not done paying for stuff. You still have property taxes. You still have maybe an HOA. You still have insurance. If you don't have insurance, you're going to lose your home, or your mortgage company is going to buy insurance for you. But even if your home is paid off, do you really ever stop paying? No, you always have to have constant income. And when you're not working, then you're dependent on somebody else. Well, even when you're working, you're dependent on somebody else, because if your employer doesn't pay you, you're still dependent. But if you're not working, you're really dependent on getting that paycheck every month. And people on Social Security, they're part of the paycheck to paycheck crowd that 70% of Americans are in. And the story, again, the woman that can't pay her rent, the bigger story is not that she didn't get her checks and why, but how is she in this position, and how are so many tens of millions of people in this position where one or two missed paychecks and you're looking at possibly living on the street or maybe couch surfing and staying with your friend or family. All right, people, consumer weakness and the drop-off in spending. We saw the fourth quarter was the slowest growth in debt in many, many years. Debt still went up. People still ran up more debt, but it was at a slower pace than before. So many people are looking at that, and they're saying consumers are either, one, afraid to spend because they see what's going on with the tariffs, all the uncertainty, or two, they already have so much debt, they're encroaching on their credit limit on their credit cards, and or they're having a tough time making their payments, so they're being more cautious about what they're buying. I think it's a combination of both. We have a lot of uncertainty right now, and we have a lot of people just buried under so much debt that they have to really be starting to look at what they're spending their money on. We saw a report in the previous video. We highlighted that. And I believe it was Wall Street Journal. They said people are cutting back on buying cigarettes and some snacks. I think they said snacks were down at convenience stores and gas stations. People aren't snacking like they used to. But we've got Dollar General out there now closing 100 plus retail locations. And the company's still making profits. They're still overall earning, but they had to close down. They're going to be closing down in this year, at least 100. That's the latest announcement, and could be more by the end of the year. We'll see, but it's selective right now. We still have Dollar Generals opening up in some locations, but we're also seeing some close. So not a collapse. People still have money to spend. They still have credit, but things are definitely changing, and we're seeing kind of twists and turns of the consumer way of spending. All right, people, this is crazy. To me, this is crazy. Joann Fabrics closing all stores, but that's not the crazy part, filing bankruptcy. But what they did is they cut off the gift cards. So let's say you bought a gift card for somebody, Joann Fabrics, last year, the year before, who knows, Christmas, birthday, whatever. You can't use it. So even though the stores are having going out of business sales, there's people that went into the stores to use their gift cards that somebody bought them or what have you. Wrong. Customers outraged by Joann gift card cutoff ahead of store closures. Joann's is no longer accepting gift cards after announcing all 800 of its locations will close last month, although going out of business sales are ongoing. Some customers are furious. Wow, the gift card game, folks, for retailers, that's a big win for retailers, and they're still going out of business, even with this type of scam going on. But you get the money as a store, as a business. You get the money, somebody buys a gift card, they give you the money for it, and the person that gets the gift card, one, may forget about it, they may lose it. Something might happen to that person. They go to the hospital, they are unalived for some reason, and they never use the gift card for whatever reason. The store still made the money from the gift card. But now, people trying to use the gift card can't use it. They're cutting it off, folks. I mean, I see lawsuits here, but do you go and sue a bankrupt retailer? I mean, who has time? Also, not many people have time for lawsuits. You have to take time off of work. I guess if you're retired, you might have time for something like that, but most people just don't want to go through the hassle of a lawsuit. More people join class action lawsuits and stuff like that because it's easier just to jump on the train, so to speak. Gift card owners in Maine are particularly upset due to a state law that was supposed to prohibit the expiration of gift cards and gift certificates, stating period of limitation may not be imposed on the owner's right to redeem the gift obligation. But yet, in that state, in Massachusetts, or Maine rather, not Mass, but Maine, Joann Fabrics is still saying, no, you can't use the gift card that someone paid money for and bought for you. All right, people, moving on to layoffs out of Reuters. U.S. agencies face Thursday deadline to submit mass layoff plans. So a lot of these agencies are being axed or at least chopped up, and they're having to get rid of a lot of people. Thursday is the deadline. That was actually, are they talking about yesterday, Thursday, which was the 13th? Yes, it was. That was March 13th was the deadline. However, there's a little bit of a battle going on here. We have a judge that came out and said that a lot of these people that were laid off had to be reinstated. So it's definitely some drama happening here, and we're going to keep an eye on it and see how this all plays out here with this battle back and forth between pretty much the judge and the president. All right, people, moving on here. Look at this. Out of Fortune. Might be good news, right? It looks like good news. U.S. household net worth climbed to a record at the end of 2024. What they're doing is they're combining all of the equity that people have in their homes. What they're not telling you, though, is most of this net worth is owned by the top 10%. But they put it out there making it look like everybody's rich, everybody's doing good. Yes, home equity is up because home values are up. But also, you have to look at the makeup of the population, right? The top 10% own more real estate, and they own more valuable real estate, and they're not subtracting the debt that people are in from this net worth number, right? So it's pretty interesting. They're looking at assets, but they're not subtracting obligations or debts. So I think what might be going on here is they're putting out these headlines to give people the illusion that everybody's rich, everybody's home equity rich, everybody's got all this extra money, but if they sell their home, they're going to have to go buy someplace else just as expensive because there's not many cheap options out there for rent or home ownership unless you want to live in the Rust Belt, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, places in Pennsylvania. West Virginia is pretty cheap too with rents, but a lot of these places with cheap rents, not many jobs, and sometimes the weather's pretty nasty. All right, people, moving on here. Let's talk about China. China just had a sharp response. I'm sorry, Walmart. Walmart had a sharp response from China. Basically, Walmart came out and they asked China to basically cover the cost of these tariffs. The retail giant faces sharp criticism after its latest move to keep prices low. So what is being reported here, it was kind of a veiled threat from China. Walmart raised eyebrows by making a bold move to dodge the potential negative impact of tariffs. This is out of thestreet.com, by the way. Tariffs are taxes companies pay to import goods. On March 4th, we know that the tariffs were announced. Shortly after they went into effect, Walmart began asking some of its suppliers in China, including those who produce clothing and kitchenware, to cut their prices by up to 10% per round of tariffs, according to a recent report. Walmart's request would shift the burden from tariffs onto the suppliers, and therefore Walmart would not have to pass them along to the customers. The retail giant is allegedly negotiating with the manufacturer with price cuts. In response, though, to Walmart's request, China, CCTV took to its social media outlet to make a post claiming that the retail giant's request is unreasonable. Quote, Walmart's demand for Chinese suppliers to bear the full tariff burden is unreasonable and disrupts fair competition and international trade order. Unquote. That's what they said. So to me, it's not unreasonable. It's just negotiation, like you see a lot in business. If you've been to a swap meet and you've tried to talk somebody down on a price, you're negotiating, right? And as a seller, you could say, well, you're unreasonable, and you can not even talk to them, or you could entertain the offer, just like when you're selling a car, anything. Entertain the offer. And if the price is not firm, then maybe you'll come down on the price. So Walmart's asking for them to absorb the cost, and somehow, per this, they got a little bit offended at the thought of even having to absorb the cost of these tariffs. All right, speaking of cuts, look at this, folks. AP, affordable housing threatened as the current administration halts $1 billion program that was slated for extending the life of aging buildings. So now, will we see more crumbling buildings like we saw, in Florida a couple years ago, where the whole building just started crumbling and came down? We have these programs being axed. How much infrastructure upkeep was under these programs? And was all the money under these programs that was going out, was it actually used for upkeep and improvement of the infrastructure, or was it being wasted, right? That's the thing that we're going to see. And we're going to see a lot of things just in the next few months. We're going to see how a lot of this plays out. But I wanted to move on to one kind of sad story here, kind of on the economic financial front still. We've got contamination of Girl Scout cookies, those cute little kids in front of the store. And maybe you buy some cookies because you want to help them out. They're nice, whatever. Girl Scouts sued over alleged heavy metals and pesticides in popular cookies. Nothing's safe anymore, folks. Even the Girl Scout cookies. The Girl Scouts didn't bake the cookies. Not their fault. Don't blame them. But pretty sad when you see Girl Scout cookies contaminated. Or that's what's being alleged here. This is out of Forbes, by the way. And the lawsuit claims in a December study, moms across America tested samples of 25 different cookies sold in 3 states and found each contained the pesticide glyphosate, while some contained at least 4 heavy metals, including aluminum, arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. I don't think it's just the Girl Scout cookies, folks. I encourage people to really be careful what you eat. This packaged stuff, they use so many preservatives, and hoping that we'll see things turn in a good direction here. So what do you think about all this news roundup? The store closures, Dollar General, Walmart against China, asking for 10% with the retaliation from China. We have these over 360 eviction cases in one day in a particular county. Is that a sign or warning that something seriously bad is going on? People missing their rent after just 1 or 2 missed paychecks. The college student couch surfing is what he said. And the retiree that missed 1 or 2 Social Security checks, now unable to pay her rent. Folks, if it weren't for all the programs over the past 4 years, we would have witnessed a Great Depression 2.0 in this country. There would have been so many evictions, so many foreclosures. The housing bust would have been way worse than 2008. But remember, they canceled the foreclosures and stopped that bust from happening, which put a floor under home prices, of course, because all those homes that would have hit the market, desperate sellers, they didn't hit the market, right? So we're seeing this propping up of the system. Is the propping up done with all these cuts and everything else happening right now, folks? Is chaos around the corner? Maybe chaos is already here. I mean, to me, all this stuff looks pretty chaotic already, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you think about all this down in the comments about any of these stories or whatever's on your mind. I'll try to read your comments on this one if I get at least 1,000 likes. I'll try to read all your comments. If I get 1,000 likes, please make sure you subscribe. Come back for more. Keep stacking, everybody. Big love. Bye for now. Peace.